There are two Budapests. The first one is the one on every travel blog and Instagram reel. It's the party destination. The cheap beer and ruin bar of Budapest. The bachelor party Budapest. The most underrated city in Europe, Budapest, that somehow every 25-year-old backpacker has already discovered. It's loud, it's crowded in the wrong places, and if that's the version you accidentally book yourself into, as a couple looking for something genuinely beautiful and meaningful, you will come home quietly confused about what everyone was raving about. Now, the second Budapest is one of the most extraordinary cities in Europe. It has thermal baths that have been operating for 500 years, a riverfront that rivals Paris at night, food that has no business being as good as it is, neighborhoods that feel untouched by the tourism machine that has consumed so much of the continent, history layered so densely you can feel it in the architecture on every street. That Budapest is real. It's waiting for you. And today I'm going to make sure that's the one you actually experience. Budapest has a reputation problem, and it's not the reputation you'd expect. Most cities with tourism problems are overcrowded with the wrong crowd. Budapest has a different issue. It's underestimated by exactly the people who would love it most. Couples in their 50s and 60s, people who've done Paris, done Rome, done the standard European circuit, frequently skip Budapest because it doesn't quite fit the mental image they have of a sophisticated European city break. It's associated in the popular imagination with cheap stag parties and student travel. And that association, while not entirely unfounded in certain neighborhoods on certain nights, represents maybe 10% of what Budapest actually is. The other 90% is grand 19th century architecture that rivals Vienna, a thermal bathing culture that is genuinely unique in the world and genuinely transformative as an experience, a culinary scene that has evolved dramatically in the last decade and now produces some of the most interesting food in Central Europe. Two distinct cities, Buda and Pest, divided by the Danube, connected by some of the most beautiful bridges in the world, each with its own completely different character. And crucially, for the couples I'm talking to on this channel, Budapest remains, even now, significantly less expensive than Paris, Rome, or Amsterdam. That financial reality matters, but I'm going to come back to that. Let me start with the most important piece of orientation I can give you, because without it, the rest of the planning doesn't quite land. Most people who haven't been to Budapest think of it as a single city. Well, it is technically one city, but it was two separate cities until 1873, and that history is written into the geography in ways that are impossible to ignore once you understand them. The Danube runs through the center. On the western bank, Buda, hilly, quiet, Catholic-topped, ancient. Buda is where the medieval city began, where the Hungarian kings lived, where the Ottoman occupation left its most visible marks. It is older, calmer, more residential, and home to the Castle District, which is one of the most genuinely beautiful areas of any European city. On the eastern bank, Pest, flat, grand, boulevarded, and alive. Pest is where the 19th century prosperity of the Austro-Hungarian Empire expressed itself in the most extravagant architectural terms. Wide avenues, enormous neoclassical buildings, the parliament, one of the largest and most ornate in the world, sitting directly on the Danube embankment. The great market hall, the Jewish quarter, the ruined bars, the cafe culture, the energy. Buda and Pest are not interchangeable. They are different experiences with different moods. And the couples who navigate Budapest best are the ones who understand which part of the city is offering them what. My framework for couples: base yourself in Pest, specifically in the 5th or 6th district, which puts you within walking distance of most of what you want to see and eat. Make Buda a deliberate excursion, cross the chain bridge, climb to the Castle District, spend a morning there, then come back to Pest for dinner. That rhythm, active exploration in Pest, contemplative excursion to Buda produces a very complete Budapest experience without the logistical friction of trying to stay in two places or spend equal time on both banks. I want to stop here and address the thermal baths directly because they are simultaneously the most iconic thing about Budapest and the thing most time visitors handle the worst. Budapest sits on top of approximately 120 natural thermal springs. The Romans built baths here. The Ottomans built baths here. And in the late 19th century, during that same wave of architectural ambition that produced the Parliament and the Chain Bridge, the Hungarians built the spectacular spa palaces that you've seen in the photograph. The most famous is the Széchenyi, the enormous yellow neo-Baroque complex in City Park with the open-air pools and the chess players. Every Budapest travel guide leads with Széchenyi. It photographs magnificently, and it is, on a Saturday afternoon in summer, genuinely packed beyond comfortable enjoyment. Here's my honest recommendation for couples who want the thermal bath experience done properly. Gellert Baths on the Buda side is architecturally the most extraordinary bathing establishment in Budapest, possibly in Europe. The Art Nouveau interior, the mosaic tiled pools, the vaulted ceilings, it's a genuinely transporting experience. It is also slightly less mobbed than Széchenyi on most days because it's slightly harder to reach and slightly more expensive. Lukács Baths in the Buda residential neighborhood of the same name is where Budapestians actually go. It's not a tourist spot. It's a functioning neighborhood thermal bath where people come before work, where elderly men have been sitting in the same pool every morning for decades, where the atmosphere is completely authentic and entirely different from the Instagram-optimized palaces. If you want to feel like you've actually experienced something real, not just photographed something famous, Lukács is where you go. Go on a weekday morning. The later the hour, the more the tourist. Before 10 a.m. at either Gellert or Lukács, you're largely with locals. That version of the thermal bath experience is something you won't easily find described in travel content, because it's genuinely one of the best things, but it is genuinely one of the best things that Budapest offers. Now let me be direct about something. Hungarian food has a reputation. Hearty, paprika heavy, meat forward. That undersells what Budapest's dining scene has become in the last decade. Yes, you can eat goulash. Yes, it's good. But if that's all you engage with culinarily in Budapest, you're leaving a significant experience on the table. Budapest has developed a genuinely exciting restaurant culture built around a new generation of Hungarian chefs who are doing something specific and fascinating. They're going back to Hungarian culinary traditions and reinterpreting them through a modern, locally sourced lens. The results are extraordinary, and the prices, even at the best restaurants in the city, are a fraction of what equivalent food costs in Paris or London. For couples, the area around the Jewish Quarter, specifically the streets around Clausel Square, has a concentration of genuinely excellent, independently owned restaurants and wine bars that represent some of the best value dining in Europe. Hungarian natural wine, in particular, has become a serious movement in recent years, and the wine bars in this area are pouring bottles you will not find anywhere else in the world. The Great Market Hall on Von Haas Boulevard is worth a visit, not primarily as a tourist destination, although it is spectacular architecturally, but as a genuine market. The ground floor has stalls selling Hungarian produce, paprika in every form, fresh meats, and the kind of food shopping experience that most European cities have lost entirely. The upper floor is more tourist-oriented. Stick to the ground floor. One thing I want to flag specifically for couples over 50 who are paying attention to how their body handles food abroad. Hungarian cuisine is rich, very rich. Pacing yourself across the day, a lighter lunch, a substantial dinner, will serve you better than trying to do full Hungarian portions at every meal. That's not a warning, it's just logistics. The food is worth the planning. I want to spend a moment here on something that isn't in most travel itineraries framed the way I'm about to frame it. but which I think is one of the most important experiences Budapest offers. Budapest Jewish Quarter, centered around Dohány Street and the surrounding blocks, contains the largest synagogue in Europe, the Dohány Street Synagogue, which is architecturally among the most extraordinary buildings in the city. But more than the architecture, the neighborhood carries one of the heaviest and most important histories of any place in Europe. Budapest's Jewish community before the Second World War was one of the largest and most culturally significant in the world. The neighborhood reflects that history in many ways. In the Emmanuel Tree Memorial, in the synagogue garden, in the Hungarian Jewish Museum, in the streets themselves, where the density of history is almost physical. And then, in the same blocks, the ruin bars. The most famous Zimtblock Kurt is in the heart of the Jewish Quarter, a converted, abandoned factory turned into a labyrinthian bar with mismatched furniture, overgrown plants, and a genuinely creative atmosphere. Most travel content treats the Jewish Quarter and the ruin bars as entirely separate categories. They're not. They're the same neighborhood, and understanding both, the weight of the history and the creative energy that has grown up around it, gives you a much more complete picture of what Budapest actually is. You don't have to go to Zimbla on Saturday night if that's not your scene. But walking through on a quiet afternoon, when the space is nearly empty and you can actually see the architecture and the art, is a completely different and genuinely worthwhile experience. The neighborhood rewards slow walking. Give it a full afternoon if you can. Here is my final emphatic recommendation, and I make it with complete confidence because I've yet to meet a couple who did this and wasn't moved by it. Take a Danube river cruise at night. Not the dinner cruise with the live folk music performance that every hotel concierge sells you. A straightforward evening boat cruise, an hour, maybe 90 minutes, takes you up and down the river as the city lights up. Budapest at night on the water is one of the most spectacular urban experiences in the world. I don't say that lightly, and I don't say it for effect. The Parliament building lit up from the water, the Buda Castle on the hill above you, the chain bridge framing the sky. It's the kind of beauty that stops conversation, that stops thought, actually. You just look. The important practical note, do this later in the evening rather than at sunset. The full effect, the city fully illuminated, the reflections on the black water, that requires full-on darkness. A departure around, say, 8:30 p.m. or later in the summer produces that full experience. Sunset cruises are pleasant, but they don't deliver that same visual impact. Most operators run these cruises for between $30 and $40 per person. At that price point, for what it delivers, it represents some of the best value of any experience I've recommended on this channel. Book it for your last night in Budapest. It makes for an amazing final memory of the city, the kind that stays with you clearly for years. I promised earlier to come back to the financial reality of Budapest, and I want to be specific because the numbers genuinely matter here. Budapest uses the Hungarian forint, not the euro. That is not a minor detail. It means that for visitors from the US, the UK, Australia, or Western Europe, the effective cost of almost everything in Budapest, the accommodations, the food, the activities, the transport, is significantly lower than in comparable European cities. A genuinely excellent dinner for two at a top-rated Budapest restaurant, wine included, will typically cost $80 to $100 US. The equivalent meal in Paris or Amsterdam costs $150 to $200. A night in a high-quality boutique hotel in the 5th District runs $140 to $180 in most seasons. The thermal bath entry at Gillar is approximately $30. The Danube cruise is $30 to $40. For a couple doing a 4-night Budapest stay, the total cost, accommodation, meals, activities, local transport, typically between $900 and $1,400 depending upon choices. That is not budget travel by any stretch. That is genuinely excellent travel at a price that almost no comparable European city can match. I raise this not to make it about money, but because the financial reality of Budapest changes how you should be thinking about the trip. You can afford to stay in a better hotel than you might budget for in Rome. You can afford that extra night when you realize 4 days isn't quite enough. You can afford to say yes to the nicer bottle of wine because the whole dinner costs what a glass would cost in Paris. That financial breathing room changes how you experience a place. You move through it with less mental friction around the cost. That matters more than most people acknowledge. Now let me bring this back to where we started. There are two Budapests. The one that gets all the coverage, the party city, the cheap destination, the backpacker circuit. That is real, but it's a small fraction of what the city actually is. The Budapest that's waiting for you, the thermal baths before the tourists arrive, the Jewish quarter on a quiet afternoon, the Danube at night from the water, the restaurant serving food that punches well above its price point, the castle district in the morning when Buda is still quiet. That Budapest is extraordinary, and it is available to you specifically if you plan it right. Stay in Pest, explore Buda intentionally, go to the baths on a weekday morning, walk the Jewish quarter slowly, eat well, and drink Hungarian wine. And on your last night, take the boat cruise after dark and let Budapest make its final argument. It will win. If this kind of travel guidance is what you're looking for, the honest, practical, experience-first version, hit that subscribe button, because that's exactly what this channel delivers. For couples who are done with generic lists and want to travel smarter. Now tell me in the comments, is Budapest on your list? And if you've been there, what surprised you most? I really do read every comment. See you next time.